Welcome to the Rogue Recap. Hot takes, cold facts, and zero respect for the official narrative. Sit back, roll your eyes, and let's recap. Rogue style.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rogue Recap. I am Linda McLaughlin. I'm here with my buddy Eric Eggers, and this is episode 10 of Soundbites. Hello, Mr. Eggers.
Hey, happy last episode of Two Hands, Linda McLaughlin. We made it 10 episodes, and we couldn't be talking to you at a more interesting, and I would argue, important time. We've been covering a lot of these different stories for a while, and many of them are kind of converging right now in political campaign season, specifically political campaign season in your neck of the woods, Ms. McLaughlin, in New York City.
Yeah, it's as disgusting as it's ever been. I'll tell you what. I'm like, never did I think that I would be wishing for Mayor Dinkins. I'm like, how is this a thing? Like, what? I mean, that's before my time, but I remember like people talking about the city before Giuliani made it Disney World, even though Disney World is filled with pedophilia, so I don't know what that comparison actually means, but
Still Disney World, in fact, as it turns out, yeah.
Yeah, still Disney World. So gross. I'll never take my kids there. Sidebar, another show. But it's interesting that the DSA, so yesterday I was talking about this on another show, and I was saying, I don't understand why people are so excited about the primary. Like, the jig is up, everybody. We don't have election integrity. People come out of the polling booth, and they'll tell you that it was the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th time they voted. They'll tell you that they're an illegal immigrant and they like signed up this morning with like some guy like with a clipboard in Times Square. Like it's a real thing. And none of it, it's just one big house of cards, the Ponzi scheme of all Ponzi schemes.
Yeah, I believe that. That's actually, I think, a very underreported aspect of the story. But I would also say that, you know, this is like what you get. This is how life works. Rick Warren, you know, who wrote that book, Purpose Driven Life. He talked about how there's like two tracks, and because like while Purpose Driven Life was like taking off and it was like the biggest book in the world, I think his wife got cancer. He had like a personal tragedy that happened to him.
His child died.
Yeah, that his child passed away. So he's like, one thing's good and then another thing's going to be not so good, and that's just kind of the way life works. And I feel like in New York City, it's like, yeah, here's the deal: you get the Knicks, they win the title, but you also get socialists. And this is just the world that you're going to live in now in New York City. And
it's a collection of 20-something-year-olds who've never paid a bill, live with mommy and daddy, carry their Starbucks, carry their iPhone, film every moment like they're Mel Gibson. And then they're like, oh, you know, it'd be cool if like everything I had was like free. And then like I shared it with everybody. But then like when it got weird, I could take it back. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Somebody told me that like leftists and socialists like look at this country like literally kids who live at home. Like, I hate it here, but can you still pay for everything, please?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what socialism is, and but it's more than that. And I think some of the clips that have emerged from some of these watch parties, because it's not just socialists, Linda. This is Mayor Mamdani's socialists, right? I mean, he was the first one a year ago, wins the primary for mayor, obviously then goes on to win the general election. You know, we could do lots.
And I think we need air quotes like a lot with these winning, win, win, win. No, it's air quotes win, because this guy ain't winning nothing. I wouldn't vote for him for sure.
Well, you know, that's a fair point. But the real winner, air quotes or not, last night's more than arguably any of these actual congressional candidates is this guy Hassan Piker, right? Because I mean, he is sort of seen along with Mamdani as one of the kingmakers of this of the candidates in this movement. And we have some clips from the election party results last night that show him sort of like reveling in his glory.
Indeed.
But I'm so happy to be able to share this incredible experience with all of you here in the fucking commie corridor, the tip of the spear of the American socialist movement. An absolute fucking blowout. And that bitch right there. Read it and fucking weep, Hakeem.
He seems super nice.
Yeah, if you're listening and you couldn't see the screen, the Hakeem he's referring to is potentially the next Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, the member of Congress from New York City, whose candidates lost these runoffs or these primaries against the socialist candidates. To me, that's like just very telling, and I think it should kind of give everybody a little bit of pause, because that's the Democratic establishment. You don't get more establishment than Hakeem Jeffries, and the people who were backed by the Dem establishment in New York City all lost to the socialists.
And what's interesting about this douchebag Hassan is that he's actually not American. He was born here, but he was raised in Istanbul. Mm-hmm. And so this idea, like, I'm like, maybe you were like, the anchor baby, birthright citizen thing going on. That's cool. Good for you, bro. But I'm thinking that the tough guy thing you have going on probably wouldn't fly in Istanbul. I'm thinking like maybe you would be somebody's little bitch, since you like to use that phrase so willingly. Hakeem has been in it for a minute. I hate Hakeem. Don't get me wrong. But like, simmer down, Hassan. Simmer down. Like, you have a Twitch channel, like, just take it easy. It's going to be fine. It's a lot. And it's like all these people standing behind him. It is a room full of people who haven't had a shower or even seen one in about a week. It stinks. They're all dressed like they're super poor, but they paid $300 for the shirt that they're wearing. Oh, by the way, they came from my parents' account because they're lawyers for a nonprofit, but the lobbying gives them all the money. Like, it's such a web of deceit, and it's so performative that you shock your dog, bro. Your dog literally is forced to listen to you every day, subjugated to a little like pillow behind you. And then if he dares to breathe or move for a brief moment from your ridiculous escapades of thought, you shock him. That for me is done. I'm out.
Yeah,
he's got nothing.
Linda's out on anybody that has a shock collar on their dog, and I understand that. I do think there's an interesting racial component to this because, as has been reported, 85% of the socialists in New York City, and I believe nationwide, are white. So like the fact that he's calling out Hakeem Jeffries, an African American, who you pointed out, like the elected leader, so potentially stands to be the first African American Speaker of the House in the country's history, if I'm not mistaken. So it's an interesting dynamic, and good luck with that in the Democrat Party specifically. But that's like just one of a few clips we have from Hassan last night.
Yes. If I could play the race card, which I hate playing, to bash Hassan, that might be the one time I take that card out of my wallet, because that is some bullshit. Hakeem is a scumbag. Hassan is a scumbag. They are scumbags in and of themselves. But if they want to kill each other, I'm for it. Like, I'm all about it. Help me help them kill each other. I'm like, how can I do that? Here's another moment. This is when Hassan had like a glimmer of telling the truth. It was super funny. Watch this.
Hey, after tonight, my price went up. You have to be a democratic socialist if you want some of this fucking shine. Sorry.
That's called self-glaze. He was like, I don't need you. I'm going to flex on my own and then glaze it over, because suddenly he became a capitalist. He was like, oh, my price just went up because I'm more valuable. I'm like, oh my God, you just became a capitalist, bro. Welcome. No, good morning.
It's such a smart point. That clip is literally a socialist responding to a change in free market conditions and course correcting his price as a result. No, absolutely. So capitalism, it's not just for the rich people. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's also, as worth pointing out, not poor. What I think is, so we have two more clips from last night, right?
We do, yes.
So before we get to the AIPAC one, let's play this one, because I think it's really interesting, this juxtaposition of here's what people are kind of really interested in, and here are some of the benefits that we think that it's not, why are the socialists winning? What is the appeal of socialism? In some respects, it's this.
So I actually renamed this clip, just so you know. I call it Pathetic Piker. It's where Piker tries to be like, man, people are mean to me, and this is what we want. That's how the cut actually starts, just so you know.
Okay, great.
I wish they stopped calling me a terrorist. That's what I wish. I wish they stopped calling me a radical. None of these people are radical. They just want healthcare. They want to end American militarism. They want to spend money on roads, on infrastructure, on schooling, on healthcare rather than bombs overseas, because it seems like for far too long, that's what our focus has been. And not the focus of the American people, but the focus of the American government has been in that direction. We have to put an end to our endless militarism, and we have to focus on ourselves, and we have to heal this nation and repair it. Nice to meet you. What's up? What else?
He's like, hey, I've got on 19 bracelets and a pinky ring. What do you want me to talk about? I can do it all.
So when you hear that, like when you hear what I think is, the self-glazed piece of it aside, that is a portrayal of the agenda of the
Mhm.
socialists in this country. What's your reaction when you hear it kind of laid out that way?
So I take supreme offense to his mouth moving. So literally he could say, God bless you. And I'd be like, you're an asshole. You know, he is that guy who comes into the room and he's like, all we want to do is help the children, save the puppies, you know, just have nice breakfast, you know, and he says it like that. Like I don't want to be labeled as a terrorist, even though I said that America deserved 9/11 and I shot collar my dog and I call people a bitch and tell them to go fuck themselves on live television. But don't take it out of context. Like, let me not have to interpret what you're doing. Let me just take you at face value. So face value is you are a radical Islamic apologist. You do not believe in American principles. And you've got all these dumb, white, woke, liberal Karens walking around in their Birkenstocks. They haven't showered. They don't believe in makeup or deodorant. It's a problem. You know what? Let's lock them in that room. You guys could have each other forever, but see, they can't. Because in order to afford the lifestyle of being holier than thou, they need capitalists. And that's the part they can't figure out. They don't know how to massage the messaging and say, well, how are we going to pay for that? Well, we're going to tax the rich. Well, how are you going to tax the rich? They're not rich anymore. You took all their money. What? Like,
yeah, like see California, right? See everybody take piecing out because California's got this 5% tax one time on these billionaires. Everybody's like, or not. No, so there's that piece of it. And I think that's 100% valid. And by the way, I want to come back to like why the Democrats can never get back to, and why the socialists specifically can never get back to figuring out how to message on the economics, because I always get distracted by this one teeny little thing, which we'll play a clip about in a second. But I also think just on its face, like to me, the messaging there is attractive, and you can sort of understand like that messaging is how Zoran Mamdani, in my opinion, won the race of mayor of New York City. It's actually very local, right? Like we want to take care of you. We want to, I saw this movie He-Man in theaters, and you know they have all these like different characters in there, and they use the term I never heard before, like fan service, because like when they have like all the characters you remember from like back in the day, like oh yeah, they have so and so, like fan service. I mean that's like it's constituent service. Like no, we want to improve your actual life. Like we will give you healthcare, we'll fix your roads, we want to do those things. In a lot of ways, it was part of the appeal of Spencer Pratt. Like hey, we're gonna get the homeless people off the street. We're going to make it so you can go to the park without having to step over drugs or poop. Like it's just basic things that I think are sort of inoffensive. The problem I think is that it's not just that, right? To your point, I mean, there's two problems. Number one is it's not based in economic reality, because all those things that he just talked about cost money, and you have to get it from somewhere. And eventually, like they wanted to tax the guy Ken Griffin with Citadel. Mamdani talked about they made a video outside the guy's house. So what Ken Griffin decided to do? Actually, we're just going to build a building in Florida, right? We're going to sort of exempt out of the premise there. So there's that one piece of it. But then there's also this, like they are essentially laundering. I guess that's what my takeaway from this clip was. They are laundering attractive domestic economic policy, or they're presenting domestic attractive economic policy, but they're trying to launder like this anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic kind of worldview through it. And occasionally they slip up and they're honest about it, like when they chanted this last night. What do the Democrats like to say? They said the quiet part out loud. They chanted the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, there's so much to say. You know, you're so polite, which I love that about you. It's very, very sweet. I'm not. So I take issue with everything these people do, because the reason why these offerings sound so attractive is because people are willfully ignorant. Willfully. They may not be stupid. They just want to be stupid on certain topics so that they can feel good at night. So you could say, you know, I would really love to fix that road. It's got 13 potholes in it. That would be nice. Okay. How are we going to pay for it? Who do we have to talk to? What legislative action has to happen? Oh, I don't want to get mired up in the details. They're those people, right? So what bothers me about this whole thing of we want to take care of your kids, you know, anybody who is a student of history, which I know you are, and I remember reading a book about, I was always fascinated by World War II, and I was overcome with sadness about what happened to the Jews under the hands of Hitler. I just couldn't understand how people could murder an entire generation of one culture out of hate. I hate so many people, but I don't want to murder them. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they got, hit by a bus and it wasn't my fault, but like, I'm not going out and killing them. These people, all kidding aside, were able to take children, women, men, do experiments, murder them. Most horrible thing in our history. But what was happening outside of that terror chamber that was happening in Auschwitz and other parts of Germany and Poland, was that they were totally and completely mind fucking their kids. They put the women and men to work and said it was a war effort. And then they said the state will now take care of your children. The state will take care of your health care. All you have to do is work for the state. So everybody went to work for the state. It was the war effort, completely opposite of the American war effort, right? And so the kids start going to school, but it's the school of indoctrination. It's the school of Heil Hitler. It's the school of the Nazi principles. If you ever saw The Sound of Music and you see these kids and they're like trying to pull them out of the school because they're turning all of these young men into Nazi soldiers. That is exactly what Hassan Piker's talking about. Let us take your children. We'll take care of them. Let us make sure they're healthy. We'll take care of that too. Don't worry about anything. Just work for the government. Just do what we say. They're literally becoming part of a dictatorship and they're allowing it. That's what I hear when he says that.
So that's interesting. And I think the last clip we're going to play today is connected to that, because what it speaks to is when you allow that kind of like uniform level of mentality to kind of take root, then there is no space for even moderate or mild dissent. And we're seeing that play out in a couple of different places. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I think that, no, like you're right. Like that's, it's
hard to say. I know it makes people uncomfortable, but it is what they're saying. They want to control you. They want to mind control you, and they want to control your kids. That's what they want. And they're going to make it sound pretty.
Well, and I would say this, that's why, to your point about like, there's a strong overlap between the people who are disciples, if you like, of that particular ideology, and they all are heavily educated, right? I mean, it's like, Peter Schweizer used a term in our podcast this week, elite overproduction. This is what happens when the system produces too many elites, too many highly educated people. And so, they're all products of like, none of those people at the party last night have a welding certificate, right? Like none of those people are working a blue collar job. It's just true. So
they don't know how to make anything go. They don't. They can pontificate all day.
No, I think it's interesting.
Also, Eric, and you're so good at this because I know your whole life is in this education system and you know so much. But there is something to be said for what is happening with what they're learning, right? So there's history or your version of it. So they're getting like my own kids, they learn about 9/11. I was there. What they're learning is not what happened. It reminds me of like when you talk to like somebody who was in Vietnam, or, if you talk to a World War II veteran and they tell you what happened, you're like, that's not what I read. It's really scary.
It is scary. And I think people stop learning like the triumphant, heroic parts of our country's history. And I think that's, something else that we touched on. And I think it's not unrelated, right? Like the rise of the appeal of this exotic alternate system with the decline of our memory and knowledge of who we actually are and the founding principles, which includes like individualism and, desire to kind of go out and win, in liberty, all those things. No, it's real. It's a real thing. And you're seeing it play out in real time with, unfortunately, real world consequences in New York City. Coming perhaps to a major city near you. You've already got socialist nominations for mayor in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., socialist nominees, I believe, in Michigan as well. So, we'll stay tuned.
And Eric, also remember, some of these people that are winning these local state assemblymen, lower tier seats that are state level only. I mean, there's one woman, she's carrying the Hamas flag.
Right. And to the point about it being like the heavily educated, like or another word for heavily educated would be indoctrinated, is this clip you pulled. I believe it's actually from a little while ago, but here's somebody talking about college students being congratulated by Iran and Al-Qaeda. and someone's asking them, hey, do you know, like, talk about like basic history related to 9/11 not too long ago. I was shocked by this. And then I did a little bit more research. Well, I'll finish off the clip with, but I was shocked that these are college graduates being told, hey, Iran and Al-Qaeda said thank you to your support for these kind of anti-Israeli protests after October 7th. And this was their reaction.
Hello and welcome to Iranian graduation. But first, a message from the terrorist proxies they sponsor. Did you guys see that Al-Qaeda just thanked you guys? They thanked all the college protesters and everything. Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. Does that make you happy?
Yeah. Of course, we're supported.
It makes me feel like there's actually some kind of hope.
For $100. Who was the terrorist group behind 9/11?
No clue.
ISIS.
Al-Qaeda. But you think that 9/11 had some justification?
Good in some ways.
Wow. Can you guys find Gaza on a map?
I think we need a better map.
Can't find it.
No.
Who is the #1 sponsor of global terrorism?
America.
I think the U.S.
New York.
Well, New York's a state.
SOUNDBYTES. What? Wait.
The answer was Iran.
Oh.
They give $1 billion a year to all of their terrorist proxies. And there's
Not good.
Where is slavery legal in the Middle East?
Israel,
In Yemen, the Houthis brought it back.
Oh my God.
Wow.
What's a Houthi?
Where is the only country where it's legal to be gay in the Middle East?
I would say Asia. I don't know.
Do you know it's Israel?
I don't consider it a country. I would go to Palestine.
If you went to Palestine, you'd be thrown off of a building. Tel Aviv's like the gayest city on earth.
I doubt it's the gayest city on earth.
It's really gay. You know what the #1 slogan the Iranian government chants is? Death to America.
Honestly, I kind of don't blame them.
Really? Do you think Iran trying to spread Islamic jihad, is that the same as America trying to spread democracy?
Arguably, yeah.
Women won't be able to show their hair. Gay people get thrown off buildings in these places.
We have to respect that and also be supportive.
Once again, students don't seem to know what they stand for, especially when they're standing with terrorism. The Supreme Leader thanks you.
Wow.
So listen, so I was like, I was unaware of college students in the United States getting a shout out from Iran and Al-Qaeda. So I looked it up, and sure enough, in Wall Street Journal ran an article about it because they actually issued like a legit statement in May of 2025. So I've pulled the statement and listen to what this says. This is like, this is from Al-Qaeda. While we support the assassination of the infidel Zionists and the beheading of them, we also appreciate and value the movement of Western demonstrators and sit-in students from Western universities who, through their sit-ins and protests, express their rejection of the genocide taking place in Gaza. So, like, from Al-Qaeda, they give a shout out to U.S. college students and beheadings, like, in the same statement. So, that
And
is
here's
the
the funny
world.
part. You do that research and you look at that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when you tell people like, oh, did you know the #1 state sponsor of terror is Iran? They're like, that's not true. I'm like, it's not up for debate. Like, it just is. Those are the things that I struggle with, right? Like when you talk to somebody, I have a friend who's very middle of the road and it drives me absolutely insane. Like, I can't even tell you. And one of the things she says all the time is, well, of course we have an influx of unassimilated people because of all the wars in the Middle East. I'm like, yeah, that makes no sense, bro. Like, even if you had an influx of people that came in because they were, unable to find a place to live due to the war-torn nature of their country, why do you want to continue that shit here? I don't know if you noticed, but shit's on fire in your country. Over here, it's not. Try it our way. Just for a little while. You don't like it, you can stop. You can put everything back on. It's fine. Just a little while. This is a concept to me that is like, why do you want to do it here? But it comes from hate. That hate is 100% supported, allowed, and encouraged by their religion. Again, air quotes.
Yeah, and I think that's like where people struggle because, it's one thing to talk about like the country of Iran, and it's this weird space because like Iran has a government that's run by a certain ideology, and that's very different than the people that are there. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why you saw these protests. And so, it's part of the rationale some people had for wanting to justify, the military action there. It's complicated, yeah. But the reality is that, like, to the point, those are U.S. college students in that video who just graduated, yes. And who knows, how edited it is and everything else. But it sounds true. The quotes from those people at those Ivy League educations sound very correct, and I do think it's like, yeah, those are the people who are voting for those socialist candidates that won in New York last night.
So Zach Sage, who did that video, he does a lot of stuff like that. And he gets people he just asks them point blank, like, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I'm sure he pieces things together for time. I don't think for context, but definitely for time.
Sure.
But during the Mamdani New York mayoral run, there were a ton of people who were doing various videos in, I guess, which park was it? It was the park by NYU. But anywho, they were on West 4th Street. They're doing these interviews with these students and they're asking them, what do you like about Mamdani? They couldn't name one thing. And so there was this table set up every single day, Washington Square Park. So there's this table set up every day in Washington Square Park. You could walk by it, you see it every day. And it was, I'm a Muslim, ask me why I'm not for Mamdani. And I'm like, now, do I believe that these, Sufi looking gentlemen with the orange beards and full garb are Muslims? Yeah, they look pretty Muslim. They look like they were on point. Okay, fine. So I go over. I'm like, how you doing? Why shouldn't I vote for Mamdani? My God, they had a million reasons. They could cite them. They knew all the legislative process. I was like, you're better than the American students going to NYU down the street. And they really did. And then the next week, people were going up to them and asking them. So they got this circle of kids to sit with the table. These kids were blown away. They're like, we're Muslim. We're telling you, he's bad. He wants to take cops out of our neighborhood. We have a terrible crime problem. We need these cops. So it was really interesting to see who they're willing to take the information from, right? Not some blonde hair, blue eyed lady saying, here's how we have to do this. This is not okay. They don't want to hear that. No.
By the way, I should have mentioned, but like those socialists, this is the thing you got to be careful for. These guys, they come out of these university systems, and this is the problem when you don't teach the founding fathers and here's the principles behind why our government's set up this way. Well, on the socialist agenda is to legitimately get rid of the Senate. They want to eliminate the United States Senate, and they want to have the President of the United States and the Supreme Court report to and be subservient to Congress. So it's like a fundamental reshaping of just the three branches of government that we've had for, checks notes, 250 years. So I don't know. It's probably worth reminding folks of why we're set up the way we are.
Well, it's like Reagan always said, how long can you keep it for? How long can you keep it for? What can you do with your country? If you are unable to keep your democracy, your republic, and keep your people in check and understand that we all have to work together, we are unable to do this as we fight against one another. And that's exactly what's happening. All right, we made it 250 years. I guess we had a good run, right? But you can't do that because we have kids. So if you have kids and you care about your kids and their future, you will fight till your last dying breath to protect that which was afforded to you because your parents did it for you. That's how this works. But see, these people that are Democrat socialists, first of all, they're very stupid, incredibly stupid. I mean, this woman, what's her name? Daraleza, whatever the hell it is here in New York. She's 32 years old, never had a job. I'm like, I don't understand how you got to 32 and never had a job. I actually don't. How are you living? What is happening? Are you homeless? I don't get it. So nothing she says is valid. By the way, she gets chauffeured around New York right now. They have this huge investigation going into Mamdani because technically under the mayoral rule of New York, you're only allowed two modes of transportation, one, and then for anybody who happens to be working with you that day or immediate family throughout the city of New York. He has 11. They're just all over, and all with security, all on the taxpayer's dollar, right? But that's how socialists work. They love spending other people's money, right? It's their mantra. So this woman wins, and she has this quote, which is, I didn't bring any napkins with me, so I just used the American flag.
Ugh.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's a rage bait every day. It really is. And you know what? I'm in for it. I'm all about it. Rage me. I'm in. I'm here. I got plenty of it. And I am ready to give you
That's your coffee. Yeah.
Dude, all day, every day. I'm like, give it to me because I'm going to knock you over with facts. But the problem is they don't even absorb it, right? So you could spew facts all day long. You look at the fact that, Mamdani got up last night and he just said, this was a great night. He was like, Inshallah, we have to give thanks to Allah. No, we don't, bitch. I don't give thanks to Allah. You do that on your time. They got a thing called a mosque. Find your way there. Praise them all you want. Have a nice day. We have a religion of freedom here. I'm all for it. Could you get out of the street? Stop praising in the middle of the street? Thank you. Mecca can be found on 56th Street. Nice mosque there. Enjoy. But it's not about that. It's about domination, and it is about a cultural overhaul. They want you to succumb to them. And what's happening is you got all these dumb white liberals who are like, yeah, sounds good. Oh my God. What kind of vodka do you guys have? Can we do that? I'm like, that's haram. You know that, right? But they don't. That's the problem. Anyways, I know I'm down the rabbit hole. And I know you have another story. You're wearing a sweater today. For those of you listening and not watching, Eric is wearing a sweatshirt today to honor one of the clips we're about to play.
Well, listen, this is a California brand. It's Aviator Nation. It's American clothing. It's also teen girl adjacent, like most of the clothes I prefer. And but yeah, so this is a story that's kind of going wild. So I was in California recently, and it's ironically, like you get out to California and you go to. I've decided like I will always now go back to California in June for several reasons. One of which is because the weather is just much nicer out in Northern California in June than it is in Florida where I live, but also because I was in awe of the ubiquity and prevalence of pride flags throughout the state. And so I ended up in many different towns where the pride flags are like lining the roads. And then I was like, hey, wait a minute. Like I literally got to there, I think I was there on June 19th, Juneteenth. And I was like, wait, so we made this a federal holiday because it's like commemorating and honoring the end of slavery. Seems like a pretty big deal. And I was like, wait, June, like the end of slavery is like a day and it doesn't have a flag. But June is the whole month for like a lifestyle. It just kind of just hold those two thoughts for a little bit. So I was kind of thinking about that. And then it's like, you talk about like demanding obedience and subservience to an ideology. That's a real thing. And this is what this kind of clip shows. So in California, in June, almost every baseball team has a pride night. So I think the Texas Rangers is the only team that doesn't do it. But every other team will have a night where they wear like a rainbow kind of lettered cap or some kind of an insignia. And as you might imagine, the San Francisco Giants, Pride Night's a really big deal to some people. So they have a Pride Night. They had caps that had the rainbow colored things. Well, three baseball players chose to write a Bible verse, like from Genesis about like the rainbow, what it stands for, on their cap. That's it. Still wore the cap, just happened to write a Bible verse on there. Well, then Major League Baseball sent a letter saying, hey, by the way, we have this policy. You're not supposed to write on the caps. And then a United States Senator, Josh Hawley, wrote a letter to baseball saying, wait, really? You're telling people they can't write Bible verse on their caps? And then it kind of became this thing. So then next thing you know, the president of the San Francisco Giants has a press conference and he's like, look, we made a statement, we could have handled it better. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. We're just baseball questions. By the way, we're 15 games under 500. Trade deadline's coming up. We're trying to move on. But because he like refused to defend the whatever it was, like people are acting like it's like the most homophobic. This is the San Francisco Giants. It's wild, which has led to this clip of this guy protesting with this sign outside of the stadium where the Giants play.
This is the first time I've ever been embarrassed to be a Giants fan. I mean, it was shocking. Like I never would have expected that from this team. And once it did happen, I would have expected a reaction. And the fact that neither of those things are happening is just, I feel like I don't even know this team anymore. I haven't missed an opening day except for COVID year. I every Star Wars Day, every Fan Fest, every Fan Appreciation Day, this was supposed to be my happy place. This is a place that I go to feel joy and connection with my community, and they've taken that. They've ruined it. So I don't want to be part of it. I gave all my tickets away. I canceled all my subscriptions. They're not going to get a cent from me. And I'm encouraging all of my friends to do the same. And the thing is, I really want to go back in that park. I want to go in there and feel good about it. I want them to do something that makes me feel good about it. I don't want to not be in there. I love this place. But what else am I going to do? Because at the end of the day, being a decent human being and standing up for civil rights is more important than baseball. And there's very few things in my life that are more important than baseball, but that is one. Well, at the end of every game, they play I Left My Heart in San Francisco, and I would sing it with my family, would put our arms around each other and sing, and it was just and for this to happen here, it truly broke my heart. And so you broke my heart in San Francisco.
Civil rights. Did you hear about that? Civil rights.
So I agree. I'm willing to take a stand here, Linda. I agree that civil rights are more important than baseball. Except for apparently the right of people to not wear a hat if they don't want to, or if they do are forced to wear a hat as they believe they were, to write a Bible verse, an inoffensive Bible verse about a rainbow on their hat. Like, and that's what's causing these people to lose their minds. There was literally a headline in a San Francisco newspaper said, fans attend baseball game despite gay pride controversy. It's like, it's just wild. So like, it just shows you when this ideology is allowed to kind of manifest and like everyone's sort of like, oh, this is what we do, we agree to this. It's like there's zero room. 3 players wrote a Bible verse on their hat, and now it's like, and then the manager's like, look, we're not talking about it anymore. Like, we're just moving on, and people are losing their mind.
What's funny about it is I have a degree in music. I have a lot of gay friends because that stereotype is real. Like, stereotypes exist for a reason.
I was wondering why you flexed about your music degree. I was like, wait, okay, like I also got a good SAT score. What are we doing? We comparing CVs? Like, what's
terrible? No, my SAT scores suck because I think they're BS. But anyways, so but I remember, like, I was asking a friend of mine the other day. I said, how do you feel about this thing? He goes, oh my God. He goes, I wish they would stop hijacking the fact that we like to have sex with men for their issues. He's like, who gives a shit? And I was like, huh. He goes, most of us feel that way. We just want to go live our lives. We want to go do our thing. He goes, and he goes, and not for nothing. He goes, I don't believe in men parading like assless chaps on 6th Avenue in front of kids in strollers. Like, that's not who we are. He goes, that's some like S&M bullshit. He's like, that's not, and I thought to myself, that's interesting. Like, like that is a message that definitely doesn't get out there. And this idea that because first of all, I hate that they took the rainbow. It drives me insane. Second of all, it's so ridiculous that we are in a place and time in our nation where if you are not willing to wear the rainbow, it means you hate the gays. No, I actually don't hate the gays. I could give a shit less about the gays. Go do you. Have a great life. That's awesome. I would love to dedicate a month to veterans. I would love to go dedicate a month to firefighters who save people from burning houses, or the guy who built and saved all those people in North Carolina who's up for the potential, Medal of Honor for all the things that he's done for free over the last 300 something days. Like, there's amazing things to honor. I don't think deciding who you want to have sex with at the end of the day needs to be a month-long escapade. It just doesn't. Hey, guess what? Gay rights is a thing now. Congratulations. Let's have a day. I'll give you a day. That's fine. A month to celebrate this? It's just, it doesn't make sense. And if somebody doesn't believe in homosexuality because of their religion, Muslims, Christians, devout Jews, they don't believe it. There's a lot of, like, they just want to take the turn against the Bible. If somebody had put a Quran quote up there and said, this verse of the Quran says this, I guarantee you nobody would have said a damn word. But it's all about who you want to oppress.
So I'm going to agree with you and I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to agree with you. I hadn't thought about that. It's a brilliant point. Had the Giants had a Muslim baseball player and had they written a Quran verse on their hat, there would not have been this level of controversy. I totally agree with you about that. It's a brilliant point. Where I disagree with you is about my collective interest in who people have sex with. I'm actually very interested in who other people are having sex with. And so I want to encourage the audience, like, tweet at me. Let me know. Who are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you can name them if it's like whatever it is, at Eric_Eggers. Like, I'm here for that. I don't, it's cheaper than cable. But I would say, it's an interesting thing. It's become much more than just, it's meant to like ward off against oppression, but I think it's ironically become oppressive clearly in its own way, as many things do. And this story, I think, highlights that. And it's just, it's really bizarre.
I will end today's show with the tolerant left is never tolerant. Every day, all day. It is so true. And I'm so sick of it. And I think a lot of other people are too.
And legit, like, so let's combine these two things. What do they have in common, right? Like, we started with the socialists. The socialists are not tolerant of people who like Israel. Like, just like no lie. That's
not socialist.
That's clearly it. Like, I mean, that's like why they're saying like, hey, if you like Israel, that we don't like that. And we end with this protester who didn't like that somebody had a Bible verse on their baseball cap. Like, that is the thing that got people upset. And it's just an interesting, these are the trends that continue to grow. among a certain segment of the populations, and those are the populations we like to talk about here on this show.
Yes, and we will continue to trash them as they like to trash back. And I think we're going to win this fight, Eric. I don't know. My money's on us. But this is the Rogue Recap. We are Soundbites. Eric Eggers, Linda McLaughlin, at Eric_Eggers, at Linda Mick, at Rogue Recap. Guys, write to us. Tell us what you want to hear about. We would love to know. We would love to trash more people that you want to be trashed. We're in for it. We're here for it. All right. All right, you guys. Have a great night. Good night, everybody.